WSBT 22 News at midday.
Good afternoon, I'm Bob Montgomery, and we are continuing our team coverage of the passing of Father Theodore Hesburgh at the University of Notre Dame. The President Emeritus was 97 years old, and the tributes are beginning to pour in from far and wide. First, we turn to WSBT 22's Kelly Stubzinski, who is live on campus, where the current university president just gave his sometimes emotional thoughts about the passing of Father Ted.
Bob, a very emotional Father Jenkins said Notre Dame lost a piece of its heart last night, but Father Ted lives on at Notre Dame and in the millions of lives he touched around the world. Jenkins also spoke about the fact that Father Hesburgh's death did not come as a surprise. He says his mentor and advisor, who lost his sight due to macular degeneration, had his good days and bad days, celebrated Mass daily, had a cigar daily, and was still very engaged. He even said Mass yesterday morning at 11:30. In the past week, though, Father Hesburgh appeared to slow down. Father Jenkins says Father Ted was not going into the office to work and was talking with people yesterday, then had trouble breathing last night, shortly after he passed away. And that is when students took to social media to remember Father Ted and decided to meet at the grotto on campus to pray. Notre Dame students also set up a tribute there to a man who did so much for this campus, spelling out his name in candles. By 1 a.m., the university says more than 200 students gathered at the grotto to share memories, cry, and pray together. Here's some of what Father Jenkins shared a short time ago about why Father Hesburgh's relationship with the students was so important.
And I always looked up to him. When I became president, he became really a mentor, an advisor, a confidant in so many ways, and I had many conversations with him. I remember one of the things he said that's always stayed with me is, stay close to the students. I mean, he was loved by, and he loved our students.
Obviously very difficult for him to say those words. Father Jenkins also spoke about the close relationship his own mother had with Father Ted, and that was also extremely difficult for him to talk about. You will hear more of that part of what he had to say coming up on WSBT 22 News at 5. Bob?
Kelly, thanks very much. Community leaders are offering their condolences as well on Father Ted's passing. South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg released a statement saying, in part, Father Ted Hesburgh was an extraordinary leader. He touched countless lives, including mine, with his intellect, faith, and decency. He will be remembered for his visionary understanding of how to build a world-class university and also for his great courage in historic moments like the civil rights movement. And U.S. Representative Jackie Walorski from North Central Indiana says the news of Father Hesburgh's passing is a profound loss, not only for our community, but also for the entire country. Today, we mourn a great man, a beloved priest, and one of the most influential leaders in higher education. I send my heartfelt condolences to his family and the entire Notre Dame community. And in the meantime, U.S. Senator Joe Donnelly, who attended the University of Notre Dame as a student, says Father Hesburgh was like a second father.
And when I think of the two giants in my life, it's my dad and Father Hesburgh. That here was someone who had dinner with presidents and then would come home to Notre Dame, and at 2 a.m. at night you'd see his light on in his little dorm room, and students would come up to talk to him about challenges they had.
Now, if you asked him, Father Ted would tell you, first and foremost, he was a priest who gave himself to Notre Dame and the world, made both better places. It began June 24th, 1943. Father Theodore Hesburgh, a Notre Dame graduate, became an ordained priest at the university. And nothing, not even being awarded the Congressional Gold Medal in 2000, would top that.
You might say this is the happiest day of my life, but it really isn't. The happiest day of my life was when I was ordained a Catholic priest.
It was the beginning of an extraordinary life that would earn him the Medal of Freedom, 16 presidential appointments, 150 honorary degrees, and take him all around the world. But he never wanted more than to be a priest and say Mass, which he did every day.
I even remember saying Mass on the desk of the head communist at the communist headquarters in Moscow, of all places.
His contributions are well documented. He traveled extensively working for peace in troubled parts of the world, from Cambodia, Kosovo, and the Middle East, the cradle of Christianity and chaos. His message always the same.
Peace is the opus justitiae. It's the work of justice. And without justice, there will be no peace.
And he lived that belief throughout his life. His work for social justice and peace began in this country. He was one of the founding members of the Civil Rights Commission created in 1957. His contributions helped create the Civil Rights Act of 1964. He stood shoulder to shoulder with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in Chicago when that city's leadership would not. But always, his efforts were guided by his faith.
I want people to realize that in serving the poor, they're serving the Lord, and that there's nothing we can do in life more noble than serving the Lord. And the Lord is with us and the poor.
Father Ted had an impact around the world, but his heart was always at Notre Dame. He was just 35 years old in 1952 when he became the university's 15th president, and his work there is legendary. He launched the university onto the national stage, raised admission standards, increased the number of students, the operating budget, and the endowment. Perhaps the two biggest achievements, though, under Hesburgh's leadership, control of the university was turned over to a predominantly lay board of trustees.
I think we're a much stronger university today than before we went into lay control.
And women were admitted.
Here you have a school named after a woman with no women.
He began the tradition of inviting newly elected presidents to give the university's commencement address, and they came. Dwight Eisenhower, Jimmy Carter, Gerald Ford, though not for commencement, Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama. And he wore his patriotism proudly.
You could be born in a Hottentot in the middle of a small country and never had a chance to do things. I thank God for America.
Hesburgh served 5 popes and admitted he could have gone higher in the Catholic Church, but he always only wanted to be a priest. And the day he was ordained, he knew his parish would be the world.
I was filled with the conviction that I wasn't being ordained for myself. I was an instrument, hopefully in the hand of God. And that I wasn't to think that I simply belonged to Catholics. I belonged to every human being. As the poet Terence said so well, Nil humano mihi alienum. Nothing human is alien to me, nor should it be.
And as he looked ahead to his own death, Father Hesburgh had just one wish.
That I continue to say Mass every day the rest of my priestly life and are able to offer Mass the day I die. It'd be a great way to leave the earth.
And you know what? He did. Father Hesburgh celebrated Mass yesterday. 12 hours later, he passed away. Hesburgh lived his life on one basic principle. You don't make decisions because they're easy. You make the right decisions because they're the right thing to do. He said he hoped he got them right most of the time. Now, this is what we know about funeral arrangements for Father Ted. At noon Tuesday, there will be a visitation that will be open to the public at the Basilica of the Sacred Heart. It will end at 6 o'clock. That will be followed by a wake service the same evening at 7:30, also at the Basilica. That will be invitation only. Then the visitation will reopen to the public at 9 o'clock and will remain open through the night until 10 a.m. Wednesday morning. The funeral Mass will be Wednesday, March 4th at 2 o'clock at the Basilica. That also is invitation only. Now, following the funeral, there will be a procession. He'll be buried at Holy Cross Community Cemetery. Wednesday night, there will be a more public tribute at the Joy Center at 7:30. You will need a ticket for that event, but tickets will be free. Now, we're expecting to learn this afternoon how those tickets will be distributed. Now, we have several crews out right now getting your reaction to Father Hesburgh's passing. You can also leave your condolences for Father Ted on our Facebook page and with the hashtag FatherTed. We'll have much more on his life and his legacy with WSBT 22 First at 4. And we turn to the weather with WSBT 22 meteorologist Carrie Peugeot. Carrie, it is a nice sunny day.
It is. It's bright and sunny, but if you felt it, you think, oh, it looks nice.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel nice. Look at where we started this morning. These are the starting temperatures. It was 13 below zero in Elkhart, 8 below in South Bend, and 4 degrees below zero in Michigan City. We certainly have warmed up since then, but it's not. I wouldn't qualify this as warm, but it's certainly better than what we had this morning. Even though we were at 13 below this morning in Elkhart, it's now 17. 15 in South Bend, 14 in Benton Harbor, and even 18 in Rochester. We will see these temperatures in the mid and upper teens all afternoon. And look at this. What a great shot. This is a look at South Bend, downtown South Bend, our WSBT 22 weather cam from St. Joseph Regional Medical Center. And we've been seeing nice, bright, clear skies with that sunshine. Well, we will continue with that sun this afternoon. Temperatures in the teens. We have more sun in the forecast, but we also have snow in the forecast for this weekend. So coming up, we're going to track that winter storm into our area that you will feel on Sunday, coming up in just a few minutes.
Gary, thank you. It's 12:09. We're following some breaking news in southeast Missouri where police say 9 people, including the gunman, are dead in an overnight shooting. They say the 36-year-old suspect was found dead in Shannon County early this morning from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The investigators say the attacks took place in several locations in and around the town of Tyrone, which is about 40 miles north of the Arkansas border. The victims were found at 4 different homes. One wounded person survived and was taken to the hospital. It is not clear what led up to the shootings or the connections between the gunman and the victims. This Warsaw man, wanted by Kosciuszko County police officers, is now in jail. 41-year-old Matthew Boggs was arrested early this morning in the Barbee Lake area south of North Webster. Boggs was wanted for a string of charges including stalking, theft, and invasion of privacy. We're getting some troubling news about ISIS, and this time in central Indiana, we'll have details coming up about the arrest of several men with claims they were trying to help ISIS. One of those suspects picked up near Indianapolis.
And here's a look outside this morning. This is WSBT 22 weather camp in Elkhart, and we see bright sunny skies. We'll talk about that sunshine and when the snow moves back in. That's coming up.
Now, your accurate Storm Tracker forecast with meteorologist Carrie Peugeot.
We have had a beautiful looking day, and you can tell here. This is our WSBT 22 weather cam from Mishawaka from St. Joseph Regional Medical Center. Nice blue skies here. We are seeing at least a few clouds on this view, but for the most part, we're talking mostly sunny skies this afternoon. Temperatures certainly not warm and nowhere close to where we should be this time of year. Average highs this time of year are closer to 40 degrees, and we're talking upper teens nearing 20 degrees this afternoon and even into tomorrow. But thank goodness the winds have been pretty light over the last 12 hours or so. In fact, this morning, when we had those temperatures below zero, we had calm winds, so wind chills were not a big issue. Right now, the wind speed has picked up a little bit, but notice a lot of these arrows are starting to change to a southwest wind. We will eventually see in the next 12 hours or so all of these arrows coming out of the southwest, because that's going to bring in our next storm system that will be affecting us over the weekend, at least the second half of the weekend. So temperatures this morning were below zero. We're now at about 15 to 17 with a little bit of a breeze. We still have wind chills registering in the single digits, so it feels like 3 outside in Elkhart and in South Bend, 5 in Benton Harbor. That's what it's going to feel like much of the afternoon, even though you're going to see a lot of the sunny skies. And this cool air is not just for us. If you look at the wider picture, the center part of the coldest temperatures we have this morning right over Iowa, where temperatures this morning are still struggling to get out of the single digits. And we have those teens and in the sunshine. Well, they started out at about 20 degrees below zero, so they're still trying to warm up. The good news is we start to see some slightly warmer temperatures as we get into the next couple of days and into next week before the next blast of cold air comes in. Here's a look at the satellite and radar imagery. A lot of you seeing clear skies, but you can still see some clouds close to Lake Michigan as the winds are changing direction. The lake effect that we had yesterday close to the lake for us actually has now focused a little farther to our north, because as the winds go from the southwest, it really develops that lake effect north, and that's why you see that blue there. We will continue to see a few clouds in and out, but a lot of sunshine is really expected through much of the Midwest, and you can see those drier conditions through Illinois and Iowa. What we're really going to be watching, though, surprisingly, is actually the snow down in Texas. First of all, it's interesting because it's snowing in Texas and Oklahoma where you don't expect that, but that storm system is going to develop more and then roll into the Midwest as we get into Sunday. But today, I expect sunshine, high pressure in place. That will give us a cold night tonight. We will still see the sun for tomorrow, at least the first part of the day, and then that system starts to move into the Midwest Saturday night and into Sunday. And if you look at Futurecast, we can time this out hour by hour. 2 o'clock this afternoon, very quiet conditions with that sunshine, certainly still cool. Overnight tonight, if you have evening plans, you shouldn't have any problems with the sky conditions. It will be cold. Once it gets dark, those temperatures are really going to plummet. In fact, overnight tonight and first thing tomorrow morning, temperatures will be back below zero. And then during the day on Saturday, we'll increase in the clouds in the afternoon. Here comes that snow, and it looks like we will all be seeing snow showers across our area by 6 o'clock Sunday morning. And the amounts of snow we're looking at, most of our area about 2 to 4 inches. There will be a swath of heavier snow. It looks like that's going to be between Kokomo and Rochester area. We will be watching that track really closely because even if it changes a little bit, that may shift the heavier amount south or a little bit farther north. But again, I want to stress that that isn't until Sunday that you will see those snow accumulations. So today, sunshine, temperatures near 17 this afternoon. We will drop to 5 degrees below zero. If you have outdoor plans on Saturday, just keep in mind starting temperatures at around 7, 8 o'clock in the morning will still be below zero. And then we get up to about 20 tomorrow. That's not warm, but technically it's warmer than what we've had. And then 28 on Sunday. 28, you know, that's still about 12 degrees below where we should be. We do have some 40s next week, one day anyways, but then we get slammed with some colder air starting Wednesday afternoon.
So March is coming in like a lion.
Really
very cold
a fierce lion, yes, a hungry lion.
All right, Carrie, thanks very much. Are we hours away from a showdown and a shutdown at the Department of Homeland Security, or will a last-minute deal avoid a shutdown?
First to cover breaking news with Bob Montgomery. Your accurate storm tracker forecast with meteorologist Carrie Peugeot. You're watching WSBT 22 News at midday.
And we're following additional breaking news just into the newsroom. The New York Times is reporting actor Leonard Nimoy has died. Nimoy, of course, famous for playing Mr. Spock on Star Trek. Nimoy was 83 years old. Now, just last week, we saw reports that Nimoy had been taken to the hospital with severe chest pains. We're waiting to learn more information, and we'll keep you updated as it becomes available. A New York man arrested near Indianapolis the very same day the president was in town this month is accused of helping terrorists. The man is one of 6 Bosnian immigrants accused of funneling money and military supplies to terror groups in Iraq and Syria. The FBI says the 26-year-old man was arrested outside of a business in Plainfield February 6th. Now, the feds say the timing of this arrest was just coincidental with the presidential visit. Congress is expected to pass a measure today to keep the Department of Homeland Security from shutting down. House Republicans insist on language in a funding bill that would stop President Obama's action on immigration. Senate Democrats have blocked that from happening and insist on a funding bill with no strings attached. Our check on Wall Street this midday finds the Dow is down 20 points at 18,193. The Nasdaq is down 6 at 49.81. We're going to trade in our very cold weather later this weekend for some snow, maybe in some places quite a bit of it. Carrie has a look at that coming up.
Here's today's recipe from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen on WSBT 22 News at midday.
A while back, my sister-in-law introduced me to an amazing recipe that's perfect when you can't decide if you'd rather serve rice or pasta as a side dish. You see, the nice thing about it is it combines both into one really tasty go-along, so we get the best of both worlds. We start by sauteing some mushrooms and chopped onions until they're golden. Once they are, we take them out of the pan, and in the same skillet, we brown up some uncooked spaghetti that we broke into about 3-inch pieces. You want to keep an eye on it, because once it starts to brown, it goes quickly. As soon as the spaghetti is golden, we add the mushrooms and onions back in, along with some uncooked rice, a good amount of chicken broth, and a bit of salt and pepper. After it comes to a boil, lower the heat, cover it, and let it simmer until both the rice and the pasta are tender. It's one of those dishes that, whenever I serve it, I always get lots of oohs and ahs, all thanks to my sister-in-law. I do hope you'll go online and get the recipe for what we call spaghetti rice, so you can share one of my family's best recipes. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found an easier way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
Carrie, from what I hear, February ends tomorrow.
Yeah.
March comes in the next day.
At roaring.
In a big way, huh?
Yeah, we're talking snow showers on Sunday. So if you're looking outside now, and you'll see a few clouds. We do still have a few of those around our area. You'll see some pockets of clearing and a few pockets of clouds this afternoon, but pretty uneventful. And most of the Midwest very quiet now. But what we're tracking for the second half of the weekend is what's in Oklahoma and Texas now. Those snow showers, that whole storm system will start to move to the north and east, and we will be right in that track for that. We're talking snow showers. We're not talking massive amounts, but at this time of year, I know it seems like a lot more than it actually is. 2 to 4 inches of snow is what most of you will see. We will have a heavy swath through the central portion and some spots in northern Indiana that get that 4 to 6 inch range, but we will have more on that track over the next couple of days. Temperatures on Sunday at 28. We have 40s next week briefly.
All right. Carrie, thanks very much. We appreciate you being here. We'll have more on the passing of Father Ted at 4.